to share with you a quote, and it is, when you judge another, you do not define them, you define yourself. And this is a quote that one of my high school teachers told me, and he was my teacher for all 4 years. And he kind of elaborated on this all year, especially because in high school there's a lot of judging, and I think it does carry over into college. And it has a lot to do with my topic, and my topic is stereotypes on athletes and the sports they play. A lot of people don't realize it, but athletes do get stereotyped. It's kind of just goes with it. No one really knows that they're stereotyped. It's just kind of what goes along with athletes. I've been playing soccer, as you guys know, ever since I was little. I've been around sports. And I actually interviewed one of my soccer coaches. He's also a football coach and a tennis coach, and he says there is a lot of stereotyping, and he sees a lot of judgment happening among athletes. So today I'm just going to address the problem and tell you how athletes are stereotyped. The stereotypes, a lot of people just assume that all athletes, have to have a lot of muscle, have to be big, have to be these tough guys, or girls, they have to be kind of manly, they can't be girly. That's just what everyone kind of assumes about athletes. One of the first things they kind of think. Also, another stereotype is that, gay people can't play sports, or, gay people can't be a cheerleader. Just all those kind of things go along with it. Also, girls can only be cheerleaders or be on the dance team. That's a lot comes with stereotyping, and also, cheer is a sport just like as soccer or football would be. So that's a stereotype that commonly happens. And the thing about, when everyone thinks, an athlete, they need muscle, who says, a skinny person can't be an athlete? It's just stereotypes like that no one really realizes. And also, when I wrote up here, coaches help their players, a lot of people think, their coach just helped them pass. But it actually is that, athletes actually work really hard, because if they don't do good in school, they can't play, which a lot of people also don't come to realize. And it has the effect when people just automatically stereotype an athlete like that. It has the effect on them, because, they think like, people think that I have to be like this, that I have to be like that. And that kind of takes a toll on how they play their sport. And also it has an effect on people looking in. If you've never played a sport and you wanted to play a sport, you start thinking, I don't have any muscle, or, I'm not as fast as that kid on the track team. You kind of just automatically start assuming that. So that's a big problem among athletes and, people who want to get into playing this sport. And another big stereotype that happens is people think that athletes are bullies, think that, they're mean, think that, they stay with their clique and, they're cool. That's totally wrong. I mean, on the survey, some of you said, athletes, some of them are mean, but if you think about it, a lot of people are mean. It's not just athletes. You might come across, a football player who's mean, but the majority of them, are nice. My whole soccer team, not being biased, but, they're all nice people. None of them are judgmental. We don't walk down the halls thinking that we're better than anyone. So that's a big thing that I want to touch on. And then my last stereotype is girls. A lot of people think that, girls aren't athletes, and we are, come to realize it. On the survey, when I asked you guys, about like girls, like in their sports, you guys, no one really said, they're athletes. Everyone was like, they're hot, they have good bodies. No one said, that they're athletes and they work hard or anything. Everyone just said, how cute they were, or, they work out. And when I said, football player, everyone was like, muscle, buff, fast, they're tall. I don't know what you guys said, but no one really touched on girls that are athletes. And, girls work just as hard, and girls are just as good as boys at sports. So that's another big stereotype that happens today. And so those are basically all the problems of stereotypes on athletes. So my solution is, if you've never played a sport or you used to play a sport, go back out there. We have classes at Hancock where you could easily just go and play a sport. And some of in the classes, like I'm in one of the classes, most of the teams are in the classes, and you get to know an athlete. That's another one of my solutions. We have athletes in this classroom. Simply, you guys have talked to me, you've talked to people who are athletes, and you come to find out, all those stereotypes that you think about sports and athletes, don't really exist. So one of my questions to you is, do you want to define yourself as someone who judges someone else? And I'm sure most of you would say no. And so that's all of my stereotyping on athletes. And if I made anything unclear or you have questions, feel